What's up, guys? Welcome to Captain Mike's rigging station. Let's talk about deep dropping. Do it right, stay tight. Let's talk about tying a rig. I like to fish the high-low rig. Really keeps me connected when I'm looking for blue line tilefish, snowy grouper, yellowedge grouper, queen snapper, barrel fish. I mean, just about anything that lives on or near the bottom is gonna eat a bait off of a high-low rig. It's a very simple rig to tie, but like with everything, you've gotta do it right. Remember when you're deep dropping, you know, there's a lot of these rigs out there that have 5 hooks with a lot of schmeckle all over it, glow beads, this and that. I don't like any of that stuff. I really don't. I like to keep it clean, streamlined, really natural. Why? Think about it. The more of that stuff I put on my rig, the more restriction, the more drag it's gonna create, and the heavier tackle I'm gonna need to fish in order to keep my rig on or near the bottom. So I don't like any of that. And I'm not trying to catch 5 fish at one time, unless this was like black belly rosefish or vermilions. Short of that, you know, I'm happy with 1 fish at a time. So I really like that high-low rig because it keeps a bait on the bottom, really, really tight to the bottom where the tilefish are really gonna be, you know, secluded to. But there's also a bait that's suspended off the bottom. However, understand if you're just paying out line and letting your rig sit there, both baits are really close to the bottom, if not lying on the bottom. And I think that's what makes it such a killer rig also. So how do we tie it? Let's start there. 150 pound Mamoy high catch, extra hard leader material, 150 pound test. This is my go-to right here. Again, for a wide variety of bottom species. Okay, I'm gonna pull off, I don't know, we'll say an arm's length, like 6 feet. I pulled it off the wrong end here, but you get it. So there we are, just about 6 feet, close. Pair of high catch snips. Okay, done with that. That's gonna be my main trunk line. I'm gonna go real slow here. This is gonna be my main trunk right there. About 6 feet across. That's just a perfect height. And you know, if you're making these, I like to make them 10 at a time. So I'll cut 10 trunk lines, and then I'll cut 20 branch lines, and I'll systematically do it. However, for the sake of this, obviously you get it. We've got a 6-foot piece of line. I'm now going to take the same 150, this is the same leader material, okay, that I'm gonna use for my branches, okay? And I've got I don't want to call it a formal measurement, but just a mark on my rigging table where I cut these, and I like to keep them uniform. So I'm always cutting the same length branches, okay? Everything is very, very consistent. You can cut one and then just kind of hold it up next to the other one and try and cut the same size branch. Hey, by the way, when you're cutting, use a good quality pair of snips and cut on an angle so the end of your leader is at a point. That's gonna make it much easier to insert into that small crimp. Again, quality pair of snips are gonna make a huge, huge difference. So we've got 3 pieces of line. You know, we'll start off with our branches and then we'll get to the trunk. So from here, we need some crimps, 150 pound crimps. Right there. Guys, you can't get this wrong. The name, the size, the letter coordination, it's all on the package that matches with the leader material. I mean, don't be afraid to crimp. It's such a good connection, and it's the most reliable connection. It really is, especially when you're dealing with line of this class, heavy line. Crimping is gonna definitely be the way to go, okay? I'm gonna need, here we go, some swivel sleeves. There we go, 2 swivel sleeves. Now, what's a swivel sleeve? You're gonna see this is where we connect our branch, and it actually slides up and down on the trunk line. Obviously, we need a couple hooks. So here we go, there we go. Now, look, let's talk about hooks just for a moment. I like, on my high-low rigs, I'm fishing the VMC. It's a 9.0 inline tournament circle hook. Guys, look, this is about compromise and balance. There's no one hook that's ideally suited for everything from a 5-pound snapper to a 205-pound Warsaw grouper and anything in between, which are always possibilities when you're deep dropping here on the Atlantic, over in the Gulf. That's the greatest thing about deep dropping. You never know what's gonna eat your bait down there. There's so many things that live on or near the bottom. So many sea monsters, and some of them are really big and really mean. But you can't fish a big heavy gauge 10-0, 12-0 hook all of the time. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And you certainly don't wanna fish a weak 5-0, not that it's a weak hook, but in this scenario, a 5-0 circle hook, it's just gonna be too flimsy. So for me, that 9-0 size is just a perfect hook. This is a 7385 CB. CB stands for Coastal Black. It's just a coating that VMC puts on their hooks. But again, that 9-0 is ideal. Remember that thin gauge makes it easy to penetrate the fish's mouth, but it's also easy to wear a big hole in some soft skin like in a queen snapper. So once again, it's about balance and compromise, but I've caught everything on this hook, everything, so I'm sticking with it. So for the most part, we're almost done. We need a barrel swivel. Here's a 300-pound, not even 200-pound barrel swivel for the top of the rig, and a 150-pound snap swivel for the bottom of the rig. Now we need that because our lead is gonna be spinning the whole way down and the whole way up. And we want to incorporate as many swivels as we can, within reason, of course, to avoid line twist and the rig twisting up. I don't want to be dealing with rig failure all day and have to constantly keep changing rigs, okay? So by incorporating some swivels, these little swivel sleeves and the snap on the bottom which spins, and of course the little barrel swivel up on top, the rotary ball bearing barrel swivel, we're really allowing that rig to breathe, to live without crisscrossing, tangling, all of the stuff that just destroys a rig. Enough of that, let's get into it. We'll start with our branches, okay? Grab a crimp. Remember, we cut the leader on an angle, so it's very easy to insert into that little crimp right there. Okay, we'll then take a hook, one of these circle hooks, in and out, back up into the crimp. Okay, leave a little bit of a loop. You want that hook to have some freedom, okay? You want it to be able to move and to turn. Don't go stiff to the hook. Now, using a pair of bench crimpers or, of course, handheld crimpers are perfectly fine as well, but I'm going to tell you what, when you rig a lot, the bench crimpers really just make a huge difference. Now make sure that that crimp is seated into that slot perfectly. You want it protruding from either end just a fraction, just a hair, okay? So that'll avoid that compressing and damaging the line. That's why we do that. You want it seated in there in the correct orientation. You don't want it sideways where it deforms the crimp. So just take a quick little look at it. It just takes a fraction of a second, but it's gonna make a big difference in how strong your rig is gonna be. From there, once you insert it, just compress all the way down. There are different size holes for different size crimps, and once you figured it out, you figured it out. It doesn't change, okay? And boom. There it is, just an absolutely perfect crimp connection. That's never coming off. There's no tag end sticking out the bottom of that. Well protected, a perfectly crimped circle hook on the branch of what is soon to be a deadly high-low deep drop rig. We now take our swivel sleeve, okay, and we do the same thing. Okay, we take one of our little sleeves, one of our little crimps, insert that right into the end of the branch, go into the eye, okay, of that swivel sleeve. Take your time, don't be in a rush, enjoy this, it's part of the fun. Okay, now here, we can go tight to the swivel because we don't need that swivel to move the same way that we need the circle hook to move and catch in the corner of the fish's mouth. So don't be too concerned with leaving a loop on this end. You can go tight to the eye of the swivel sleeve. Insert into that same position on your crimper. Once again, make sure it's seated properly, compress, done. Branch is done right there. We'll do the other one really quickly here. Okay, just grab it, grab a crimp, insert it right into the hook. Look, once you do these a lot, it's second nature. It really is. You know exactly where the crimp is supposed to go. Everything is just memory, and you can literally just pop them out really quick. And that's what I like to do. It doesn't make sense to do these one at a time, right? You know, when you're ready to do these high-low rigs, tie them 10 at a clip. You're gonna use them, you know, throughout the season. I mean, we go through a lot of these rigs. Fortunately, we don't lose a lot, but sharks will rip the rigs apart. That often happens. So nevertheless, look, here it is. Our branch is done. Here's the hook crimped on, and there's the swivel sleeve. We have 2 of those done. We now take our main trunk line. Remember, we cut that before, 6 feet, and we're gonna insert a sleeve, and we're going to crimp on the snap swivel, the 150-pound diamond rotary ball bearing snap swivel right on the bottom. There'll be a link to all of this in the description, right? Right to the mono, you know, to the leader material, to the snaps that we're using, to the hook, everything you need will be right there. So here it is. We've crimped on our little snap. That's where our lead is gonna be attached, and it can rotate all of that at once on the way down and on the way up. It's not going to destroy the rig. That little snap swivel is absorbing all of that twist. We then take our 2 branches, and remember, we have the swivel sleeves. Just feed that right on there. That's 1, and that's 2. And before I even fix them in position, now what I'm gonna do is just crimp on the top rotary ball bearing swivel. This does not have a snap. This doesn't need a snap. This is on the top of the rig, okay? And same thing, same crimps. I mean, come on guys, look, anybody can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. It just requires a little bit of time, a few components. How much are you spending on a deep drop rig at a tackle shop? 20 bucks, 30 bucks, who knows? Here, for a fraction of that, you're tying your own rigs, which, you know, that also is rewarding, right? Making your own rigs, going out there, catching the fish on your own rigs, perfect. So here it is. Now, in my right hand is the snap, in my left hand is the ball bearing swivel on the top where my running line is attached. Right in the middle, you'll see the 2 sleeves, or I should say the 2 branches. I like to bring one of them down just about 6 inches above that swivel right there. So here again is where the lead is gonna be, about 6 inches up. This swivel sleeve, what you do is actually crimp both ends, and that's what holds it in position. So the smallest hole here on the bench crimper, stick one end in, cinch it down, stick the other end in, cinch it down. That can no longer slide, and it is fixed into position. I'll now take my opposite one, or I should say the other one, and about 6 inches down from the top swivel, I'll do the same. Boom, one side, 2 sides. My rig is done, complete. Here it is. We've got the top swivel, and you know what? I'm gonna come over here and get you to get a better look at this. Real close up here. So here's the top swivel, right? Oop, get back over here, there we go. Here's the top swivel right there. That's where we connect our main running line to, is right there. No additional swivel. We don't have our deep drop rigs rigged with a snap that attaches to that swivel. We don't need to. We can tie our monofilament top shot right to that swivel. There's the 150-pound trunk line, and here's the top branch. Right here, it's about 18 inches, okay? Bait has a nice natural presentation right here. There's the hook. Look how it's crimped right there. See, with that little loop, nice and clean, but it has that little loop so the hook can turn. That's really important. Here's the swivel sleeve, fixed into position. It can't slide up or down. And remember, the swivel sleeve is just that, it's a swivel, so it also spins, okay, right there. And then approximately 5 feet away on the bottom is exactly the same thing, is our other branch. And then here's our little leader with a little snap where the lead attaches to. Guys, that's it. It doesn't need to be a super fancy rig in order for it to be effective, okay? It can be something very simple. Right here is really all that you need. A 2-hook high-low rig is absolutely our go-to, and you're gonna find, even though there are less hooks than your typical tackle shop 5-hook deep drop rig, you're gonna find that you're gonna catch not only more, but I think better quality fish on this rig as well. All right, and guys, I wanna remind you, regardless of what rig you're fishing, most importantly is fresh bait. You've gotta have fresh bait. These bottom fish, man, they love the fresh bait. Bonita, fresh dolphin, believe it or not, anything that's fresh, jacks, kingfish, okay? Yes, the frozen squid is a staple, but fresh meat is really gonna be enticing. One of the must-haves too when you're deep dropping is a little bait table like the ones that we use from boatoutfitters.com. You guys, you've seen them aboard our Sea Hunter all of the time. This is essential to keeping your bait organized, clean. Keep all of that fresh bait on ice, okay, on ice, and just take out what you need as you need it. Keep it on that Boat Outfitters bait table right at your fingertips, ready to go. That's the right way to do it. And if you do it right, you'll stay tight. So that's it. I'll see you out on the water.